Omaha Mom Talks, proudly sponsored by Diventures Swim School, where giggles and goggles unite. Welcome back to Omaha Mom Talks. I'm your host, Jessie Gutierrez. Today, I'm sitting down to chat with somebody who embodies resilience and giving back to the community. I'm meeting with bilingual professional Karen Pesek. She is an entrepreneur, a mom of 3, and is a fierce advocate for higher education. She and her husband, Ross, own and run Pesek Law, where they manage the business side, but they also lead some incredible initiatives in the community, such as the True Potential Scholarship and the Free Legal Clinic. Join me today in learning and laughing with Karen Pesek. All right, so Karen, thank you so much for joining us for Omaha Mom Talks. We're so excited to have you today.
Thank you for inviting me, Jessie.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So before we kind of jump into our conversation, I always like to, if I have a personal connection with our guest, I like to chat about how we met.
Yes.
Do you want to share how we know each other?
Sure. So your father-in-law, Jack Gutierrez, he is my husband's college basketball coach. And so I don't know if we met back then, but eventually we met because my husband and his coach had a personal relationship and, have been friends for all of this time. And so I eventually met you through him and all of the Gutierrez clan.
Yes. So we have been lucky to get to know you through my father-in-law and your husband, like you said. And I think the first time we might have met was at one of your True Potential scholarships, which we'll get into that.
That's right.
Foundation and the banquet. And I think I've just been an admirer of yours ever since. I think like all the things that you're doing for the community are really impressive. My husband and I, Drew, are like, we look up to them, and then we kind of laughed because we're like, they're not that much, like they're our age, but like you feel so much more responsible.
It's so great though to know people of around your same age though that is doing cool stuff, and you can kind of support each other and help each other out because we don't have to figure out everything on our own, right?
Yeah, I think that's huge. So let's just share a little bit with our listeners about who you are and what you're up to these days.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
So my name is Karen Pesek. I am a Mexican immigrant, and I have been in the United States for about 22 years now. So over half of my life I've been here in the United States. I met my husband, Ross, when we were in college. And we've been together ever since. So we've been together for 22 years as well. 15 years married. We have 3 kids, middle school age, and one elementary school.
Okay.
We have a business together, a law firm. It's the largest bilingual law firm in the state. Everyone is bilingual. We our clients are, the majority of them are Spanish speakers. And so we represent them on cases of negligence and accidents and medical malpractice and things like that. I am the director of finance. My background is in accounting. And so I manage the business side of the law firm, and my husband is a lawyer, so he manages the legal side.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's kind of take it back a little bit to where you grew up and what life was like when you were younger.
Sure. So I am from northern Mexico. Okay. I like to say that my state, Chihuahua, is like the Nebraska of Mexico.
Tell me what that means.
Because it is enclosed in land. We don't have any beaches.
Oh, okay.
It's all land. It's in the middle of the country.
Okay.
And it's a very cowboy, farming kind of territory.
Okay.
And so it was actually really nice to come to Nebraska and be in kind of the same kind of environment that I grew up with ag, with cows, with horses, with land and all of that. I moved to the United States when I was 18 after high school graduation.
Okay.
And my plan was to come here, learn English, and then go back and do my university studies in Mexico and just have my life there because I had a good life. My family was there. But life happens, and this is something that happens with most immigrants. You have this plan, and then you come here, and real life takes you a different path. Mm-hmm. I met my husband right away when I started college, and we've been together ever since. I did not return to Mexico, but we decided to live our life together and eventually set up our business. So that's what I did. I came here to the Central Community College in Columbus, Nebraska. That's where he was playing basketball.
Okay. And did you come by yourself?
Yes, because my dad, he was already here.
Okay.
So my dad immigrated back in the 80s, late 80s. And so he wanted to bring me here, but the immigration process takes a long time to process. Mm-hmm. So I ended up staying with my grandparents over there so that I could come here when I had the papers.
Okay.
So I was 9 years old when he immigrated to the United States. Wow. Him and his wife, my stepmom, and they actually created their family here. They had my little sisters were born here, but I was held back in Mexico waiting for that immigration process to go through. And so when I finally got my papers, I was 16 years old. I was, at that age where I had a boyfriend, I had my life, I had my friends. There was no way that I was going to leave my life and move to the United States at that point. So I told my dad, I will wait until I graduate high school, and then I'll come over, learn English, take advantage of the opportunity, because, it's a big opportunity to be able to come here legally and be able to go back and forth as many times as you can. But, it took a long time. So I wanted to make sure that we took advantage of that at the end. And so, he said, okay, you graduate high school, you have to come over. So that's what I did. I did not want to.
Okay.
I did not want to. Wow. But I did live my life over there and moved to Columbus. And it was a really hard process because I didn't grow up with my dad and my stepmom.
Right.
So it was a really big adjustment, not only to immigrate to a different country, but just to come to my family who I had never lived with.
Yeah. Well, and you're at that emerging age of being a young adult, but you want some autonomy and some freedom.
I was exploring my adulthood even
right.
because I turned 18 when I was still in Mexico by the beginning of the year. And at 18 in Mexico, you can drink, you can go to bars, you can go to clubs, you can do everything. And so I was just about to start all of that when I had to come here and things were different. And then my dad, he had, his youngest daughter at that time before I arrived was 10 years old. Okay. Then I arrived and I'm 18 and he kind of have a shock of how do I deal with having a teenager at home?
Yeah, how do I parent her?
Yes, so it was he took a very strict turn. He had a lot of rules for me and that was really tough. Mm-hmm. I definitely couldn't have made it through if it wasn't because I met Ross, my husband, and then at the same time I met my bestie, who has been my best friend since then. But between the two of them, they really supported me through that transition. That was really, really hard. I had to learn English,
So you come here, you don't speak English, you enroll at Central Community College.
That's right.
How intimidating that must have been. For me, it would have been to step on a campus.
Definitely.
How did you embrace that?
It was very intimidating, but I have always been a good student. And so I knew since I was little, and I would be playing with Barbies in the backyard of my abuelita's house in Mexico. And I just remember thinking that my Barbie was this boss babe.
Okay.
That would travel all over the world with her suitcase and being all fancy. So I knew I had a vision for myself. I knew that I wanted to become this powerful, independent woman.
Okay.
And so studying was really important for me. And I had good grades, and my forte was math. And math is the same in English as it is in Spanish.
Yeah.
So what I did when I came to Columbus, I enrolled in all of the math classes that I could find.
Yeah, that's so
because
smart.
I said, okay, the numbers are the same. I can pass the classes just by looking at the numbers, and then just figure out the language as I go.
Wow.
And so that's what I did. I enrolled in a bunch of math classes and a bunch of gen ed classes. I just went 100% in it. And then also at that time, I was with a mindset of, I'll just be here for a year and I'll return, right?
Okay.
So I was trying really hard to become fluent in English. So I enrolled in all of those math classes, and somehow I did it. I don't even know, Jessie. I couldn't even tell you how it happened, but I passed all my classes. I remember my most challenging class was history, actually. because I had never had American history.
Right.
And when you're in elementary school and middle school, high school, you hear the stories over and over again. The story, the Independence Day, and how did it happen, and all of the wars, and you can have an idea of the names and everything. All of that was brand new for me.
Yeah.
And History 1 in college.
Yeah.
So my husband, who is definitely a history nerd, really helped me through that. We would go on dates to Godfather's Pizza in Columbus and just kind of study our history exams and stuff. And that really helped me with my language skills as well.
Okay. I love it. So tell us how you and Ross met and kind of what that was like, and was there a language barrier there as you guys got to know each other?
Oh, yes. So it's quite interesting. So we had several classes together because we were taking gen eds, right? So we general education classes. So we had some classes together, and so we would see each other at several points during the week. And I remember that one of the people that I met, she was a Mexican immigrant, and she kind of took me under her wing because I didn't know the language, right? And she said to me one day, that güero over there, the white guy, the güero over there, he likes you. He keeps staring at you when he comes into classes. And so then I started noticing him, noticing me. And one day after history class, he came and he tapped on my shoulder and he just starts saying stuff. And I'm just looking at him. He's 6'4", so he's tall. And I'm just looking at him like, what in the world is this guy saying? And I know that he was asking me questions, but I thought that it was related to the class. And so I just started saying, no. Like, no. Because I had no idea what he was asking me. So then he kind of seemed very confused. And then all of a sudden, he just kind of turned around and left. And my friend finally, came behind me. She's like, oh, my gosh, you were being so mean.
Oh, no.
He was asking you out. He was asking you if you like the Huskers, if you want to go watch the game on Thursday, and all of these things. And I was like, oh, well, I thought he was asking me about the class. So how do I fix this error? And so what we did, she wrote on my notebook, how to say this little speech for next time that I saw him. And so, next time I saw him, I had memorized these 2 lines of yesterday. It was a misunderstanding. Okay. I'm a Mexican immigrant and don't speak English, but I want to go out with you.
Okay. Most importantly.
And so he was like, just completely dumbfounded. He didn't know at all that I didn't speak the language. Yeah. So it was quite funny. And then the second big shock for him, I think, was that I told him, okay, if we're going to go out, then you have to go ask my dad for permission.
Wow.
And he was like, what? Yeah. Dating here in the United States is just not the way it rolls. And you're
in college, so
it's just very, very different to what he was used to. And I think that that's one of the things that he really liked and attracted him to me, just that it was a different thing. So he ended up going to my dad's. Wow. And, he picked me up and he had to meet my dad that very first day. And then he said he tried talking to my dad. My dad did not talk to him at all. He just kind of shook his hand a little bit. And that was like the okay that we took. Okay, we can go. Okay. And so we went out he took me to Dairy Queen. We had some blizzards. And then we went out to Friday Night Lights, a high school football game. Okay. And that was our first date, and we've been together ever since.
Wow. I love it.
And I don't remember not knowing the difficulties of not having the same language, because my husband didn't have any Spanish at the time.
And he is bilingual now.
He is bilingual now because we lived in Mexico City for a while.
Okay.
But at that time, he was not bilingual. And I remember it being difficult. And sometimes, even now, I find some little notes that I used to leave him, and they don't make any sense. So I have no idea how you
made it work, but you did. I love that. So I heard you say earlier that you had anticipated only coming to the United States short term.
Yes.
And then, so when did you, what did you decide and how, once you completed your studies at Central?
Yes. So everything fell into place because of the opportunities that were opening in front of me. I had this idea of what I wanted to do, but when I met Ross and I started establishing my life a little bit better here in Columbus, I've started applying for scholarships and see if I can get anything. And my main point was, if I get a scholarship, then I don't have to have my dad paying for my classes, which was a concern of mine at that time. So I just applied to see what would happen, and I got a scholarship for a second year at Central, an academic scholarship. And then after that, I applied for a transfer scholarship for Wayne State.
Okay.
And I got that scholarship, a full ride to Wayne. So that's
awesome.
That's a long way to say I was just flexible on what was going to be out there and actually trying to open those doors of opportunities for myself. I was applying to scholarships. I was looking for opportunities just so that I would have choices.
Yes.
And then when I was ready to make a decision, I had 2 or 3 choices, and that made it easier to go ahead.
When you were applying for those scholarships, did your dad go to college? Did you have family members that were helping you or guiding you, or was that a process that you just took on independently?
Yeah, it was very much independent. I am the oldest of all of my generation in my family, my cousins. I am the oldest by about 5 years. So I was ahead of the curve on my family getting a high education.
Yeah.
So it was definitely, I leaned a lot on my advisors that I had met at the community college, and it's one of the things that made me love community college so much later on in my life. All of the support that I needed, I found it at the community college. I found the people that were guiding me, making sure that I was taking the right classes, making sure that I was not spending money on classes that didn't transfer and things like that. So definitely leaned on my advisors and everybody at the college, because nobody in my family had gone to college, let alone going to college here in the United States.
Right. Yeah. And I always think that it's such a big feat for any young person. You're a young adult, but really you're still so young.
Yes.
And so that guidance and that help is so important and critical.
Yes.
So then did you guys both go to Wayne?
We did. So we ended up applying for the same scholarship, and we got it. It was a transfer scholarship, academic scholarship, because my husband got injured and couldn't play basketball anymore. So we leaned into the academics, and he's a really good student. He's always been. So we were able to get that scholarship, and we went on to Wayne State, which was another life adjustment for me. I had never considered moving out of my family's home until I got married and went to live my life that way. You know, in Mexico, that's the culture. You just stay home. You don't get kicked out at 18 or anything like that. It's you stay with your family, you get married, and you get out. And so for me to think that I was going to move out of my dad's house into a dorm room, it was crazy, because it gave me that sense of independence that I had never had before. And I had never even thought about what am I going to do with my freedom. I didn't have any grand plans, so I ended up working and studying.
Which probably served you well.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
I love that. Well, so after Wayne State, did you guys both move to Omaha, or what?
Yes, so after Wayne was actually a really excellent experience for me and my husband as well. The two of us had really good experiences where we were able to get all of the academics that we needed to at an affordable cost. We had no student loans. And that's important, later on in my story. But at that time, it gave us the liberty of, okay, what are we going to do? And so what I ended up doing, I participated in a career fair on my senior year. And it was actually in the fall semester of my senior year, so pretty early. I participated in this career fair with accounting companies that came to Wayne for interviewing, and I got 3 different offers that day, and I accepted one offer for to work at a consulting company here in Omaha, actually. And so I accepted that offer, and that meant that my senior year was very much relaxed, because I was not worried about what I was going to do after college. I had my job my after college job in November of my senior year. So it made for a really relaxing and fun senior year. And my husband had decided at that time that he was going to be a lawyer. So he was focusing on getting to law school and all of that, getting scholarships. He did get a full ride to go to UNL College of Law. So he ended up moving to Lincoln. And that was a part of our life, the only 6 months that we've been apart, where because of that friction that we felt, where I was being pulled to, starting my corporate life and, do this full-time job in the big city in Omaha. And he was going to go to Lincoln. And he was actually thinking about going to other law schools out of state. And so there was a lot of friction. And, I think that it's very common in couples to where you are in college together and everything is fun and games until you may have to make life decisions like, are we going to go where you need to go, or are we going to go where I need to go? And so we actually took a break to decide and sort things out. I wanted to make sure that he could go somewhere else if he wanted to, that he didn't feel like he had to stay here in Nebraska for me. And that ended up being a mistake. It was a growing experience for both of us because we realized that we really belonged to each other and we wanted to be together. And so what he ended up doing is he said, I'm just going to go to Lincoln. I'm going to stay in Nebraska. And then when I saw that he made that decision, then we kind of got together again. And then, got engaged shortly after that. Okay. And so he went to law school. And shortly after I started my corporate job here in Omaha, I got the opportunity to go to Mexico City for a project that was a year long.
Wow.
And so they were actually going to have me traveling back and forth every week for a whole year to Mexico City. And I asked, would it be possible for me to have an apartment there? And would it be possible for my husband for my fiance, I lied. We were not engaged yet. For my fiance to move in with me, and they said yes. And so we did that. And so he put his scholarship for law school, he put it on hold.
Oh, wow.
And moved to Mexico City with me for a year. We were 22, 23 years old. And we moved to Mexico City. I was working the corporate life, and he was studying online and trying to learn Spanish, which he did accomplish. We were there for a year. We came back. He finished law school, and we were both bilingual and had degrees.
Wow. Yeah. How amazing.
Yeah.
I love that you guys really supported each other's goals.
Yes. It has been one of the biggest assets that we have, I think, that we really have a shared vision for what we want. We have a big spirit of service. So we knew that being bilingual was going to allow us to serve the communities that were here in Omaha or in Nebraska that really needed legal help in their language. And so, that was a very a pivotal point in our lives when we decided to do that, and it was a great experience. And I'm very thankful for my corporate work at that time. Right now, I wouldn't go back to corporate for nothing.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was a very wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, you gained a lot, I'm sure, of just learning. So where were you at in your career when you became a mom?
Yeah, so after we came back from Mexico City, we decided that we were going to open a business. And I was going to live corporate life because I wanted to be a mom. I told you my vision about my Barbies being a boss babe and all that. But that boss babe was going to be a mom too.
Okay.
I've always known that I wanted to have a family. And so when the time was right for us, after coming back from Mexico City, we said, okay, let's buy a house. Let's start our business. And I'll take care of all of the accounting, all of the management stuff from home.
Okay.
And you can go out and get the clients and do the legal work. And so we started like that. We started very small. He was trying to get every client that would come through the door, any kind of law, because that's what you need to do when you are a business owner and you're just starting, right? And I would stay home, and by that time we got pregnant. So it was a very scary and very challenging time, but we really had faith that it was going to work out. And one of the things that I think has helped us too is that we have always valued the real things. We have valued family time. We have valued the time with each other. We have valued experiences. And so at every step of the way, we've always focused on those things which have helped us. You know, we don't need a big fancy house. We don't need a big fancy car. As long as we're together and we're spending quality time together, that will bring us ahead. And so that really helped us manage, like, the mindset that we had towards money, really helped us stay frugal, stay within our means, and that really enabled a lot of the stuff that we were able to do afterwards.
Yeah. And I think that can be hard for young professionals who maybe didn't, come from wealth, and then once you start making a little bit of money, like, you want to treat yourself, or you want to get the nice things.
That's right.
And you deserve it. And it takes a lot of discipline to say, like, well, yes, we could afford that. We have other goals. That living a little bit more minimalistic is going to help us reach those goals.
Just live within your means. Live within your means. And I think that that's definitely something that I remember thinking, that we wanted to take vacations to Zihuatanejo, which is really a beach town in Mexico that we went there on our honeymoon. Cool. And we loved that spot. And so we wanted to go there every year. We wanted to make it a goal to go there every year. And we did, even when we had kids, we did. But we did not stay at the big fancy hotel. We stayed in a, small room that barely had the minimum. Why? Because we weren't going to be in the room. We were going to be at the beach.
Exactly.
And so that's the kind of stuff that, there are, yes, of course, you feel like you deserve to spend your money when you start making a little bit of money. But you always have to be smart about things and thinking about the future. And eventually you do get to a spot where you can spend more. When you realize, I can afford to stay at a nicer place. But that comes with time. And it really does pay to have patience and to do things at the right time when it works for you and it's not stressing you out. Because it all becomes a full circle where you stress out about finances and it affects your family, it affects your time with your husband. And so keeping it simple really, really helped.
I'm going to kind of jump ahead just because we're on the topic, but I know you do a lot of mentorship in the community and helping other young professionals grow their skills and grow their mindset. And one of the things that I've heard you speak on is financial literacy. And I know that I can relate of, like, I wasn't raised with skills on how to save and how to earn and how to invest. And those have been, learning things. I am now married to a financial advisor, but so that helps. But a lot of us just aren't given that wisdom. And I've heard you talk about some of that. I don't know if it has been at events that I've seen you speak at or if it's been on your socials, but can you share a little bit about that message as well?
Yes, for sure. I am very passionate about encouraging people to not put themselves with chains, do not hackle yourself to the ground with a big debt, with a big step that you're not ready to go with, that you're not ready to take yet. Everything comes with time.
Yes.
You have to be patient and you will get there.
Yes.
And I think that people getting discouraged because it takes so long, right? But it doesn't really take that long. You just, you just have to make a plan and stick to it. And, what I think about financial literacy, I think that a lot of it stems from just being able to be a good communicator and to communicate with your partner and with your family about your expectations, the type of life that you want and how you can achieve it, how you can get there together. But right now, what I notice is that I don't know if this is particular to the Mexican culture. I think that is in general to everybody. We don't want to talk about money.
Right.
We don't want to ask the questions. We assume a lot of things, and making assumptions is just not good. You don't have a realistic vision of how people are. Maybe it seems like they have all of this wealth, But if you look underneath the hood, then you see that everything is debt.
Right.
That if they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And so just the ability of have those conversations and be honest with each other, especially with your partner, I think that that's the most important thing, that your partner and you are on the same page about what you want to achieve and how you're going to get there, and how you don't have to make it something that's like, oh, I got a budget. Oh, I got to do. Or sometimes, this happened to me where we decided to have monthly financial meetings.
Okay.
And to make it more fun.
Yeah. Would you go somewhere, or would you do it at home?
Yeah, we had to go somewhere,
Okay.
and we had to go somewhere where we wouldn't go just like any day. It was like a special day,
Okay.
So a fancy restaurant, that would be our treat.
Your date.
And the condition was that we're going to talk about finances at this very nice dinner.
Oh my God, my husband would love that. I'd be like, no.
Right. And so we started doing that very, very young. I mean, when I got pregnant.
Okay.
We were like 23, 24 years old when we started having these monthly financial meetings. And what happens sometimes that you can get a little defensive when you start talking about money, and then you have to talk to your husband about how much money you spent at Target,
Right.
or anywhere,
Right.
And then you start feeling a little bit like, oh, he's gonna think that I'm spending so much money and this, that, and the other. But if you don't have those conversations, you can adjust your behavior, and then at the end you don't get to where you want to be.
Right.
And everything starts with that conversation, and then not being afraid of approaching the topic, but also my husband, because I did spend a lot of money on Target and other things that maybe he didn't consider that they were like critical, but he was always supportive. And in the way that he would tell me, maybe we should not spend so much on, maybe our budget needs to go from here to here.
Yes.
That really helped. But I think that the most important thing is that we actually talked about it. We actually approached it, and he was not judging me. He was not mean. He wasn't not
critical.
condescending. We talked about it, and I understood logically too that I couldn't be spending that much money every weekend, right? And so I'm just giving an example. It could be many things, but during those financial dinners, it's like if you approach it from the side of love, and that we're in this together.
Yes.
We're in the same team. We're not against each other. How can we make sure that our bank account is healthy so that we can continue to grow it and do what we want to do?
Yeah. And I love the open lines of communication. I think that it can be so easy to avoid those conversations, especially if you weren't raised, right, like speaking about finances or the importance of saving. And I think that I always say it's good to have a balance in a partnership. Like, I am not great with finances, but my husband is. And so sometimes it does feel like when he's having these conversations with me, it can feel like, oh, here we go. But ultimately, I'm like, it brings me back to what our goals are.
Yes.
And it reminds me that, like that $200 Target trip of non-critical things really isn't getting us to our goal any faster. And could I have done without those things? And I'm always glad that he is keeping me on track on like, okay, what is our goal?
And it was the other way around, right? I don't want to be stereotypical that is the woman who's always spending the money.
Right.
In my case, I remember the examples because I remember that feeling, because you're talking about this and you're at a nice dinner and you're having these conversations, and then it's like, oh, look how much we spent on this, that, and you feel it on your stomach. You feel like, oh, like I shouldn't have done that, but you have to be on your safe space with your husband. It's your partner. It's your partner in life. So it shouldn't be a scary topic.
Yeah. And I think just having the conversations and having the joint goals of whatever your financial goals are is important.
And recognizing that it's a long way, it's a long game, right? I remember our language at that time was, once we get on the highway, because that's what, for us, it was like going on a road trip and you're kind of getting out of your neighborhood, and you're driving on the neighborhood. So like all of this preparation of like saving, being frugal, live within your means, is like you getting out of the neighborhood. And finally you get to that highway and you can go fast.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, and so that's the analogy that we used to use. And it was like, once we get to the highway, it's going to be so great. We're going to have this, we're going to do that. And so it was a visual that helped me get like, okay, we're almost at the highway. Yeah. We're going to be there. We're going to get there. And then once you make it to the highway, it's so liberating. It is, you feel that you can make decisions from a position of strength. Mm-hmm. You cannot be pushed around because you have this strength within you, where if you don't like your boss, you don't have to stay with that boss. You can go and get another job. Why? Because you are financially independent. And all of that strength that you have for the rest of your life comes from the decade of frugality that you had at the beginning of your marriage.
Absolutely.
For me, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. Hey, Omaha Mom Talks, it's me, Jessie. I'm super excited to share with you guys that we are partnering with Diventures Swim School. Learning how to swim and do it safely is a huge priority for our family. I'm heading over to Diventures later this week to tour their facilities and get my girls enrolled in classes. All of their classes are customized based on age and skill level. I took a really easy, quick quiz online to determine which class was best for my kids. If you're interested in swim lessons for your kids, please check them out at Diventures Swim School to determine which class would be best for you. Well, share with me a little bit about all the things you're doing at Pesek Law and not just your role, but all of the other things that you've integrated.
Yeah, so Pesek Law is the largest bilingual law firm here in Nebraska. We represent clients in Nebraska and Iowa that have suffered accidents, maybe medical malpractice, things like that. And so we focus on helping Spanish speakers. And one of the things that happens is that a lot of attorneys, they might be afraid or shy away from accepting clients who are Spanish speakers because they think that they will get less compensation, whether in front of a jury, just because they're different, right? Okay. And so, and they're afraid of all of these prejudices that people may have. And so what Ross really wanted to focus on is, like, we are never going to put Spanish speakers second. We are going to give the same quality of service that they deserve, and we are going to treat them with dignity, and we are going to demand fair justice for these clients that happen to be Spanish speakers, right? And so we take cases all the way to trial. That's the biggest tool that we have to get fair compensation. I'm very happy to be able to put money on the pockets of negligence victims of our neighbors. So we've been doing that for 13 years. Wow. And as a side of, or a branch of the Pesek Law, it's what we are calling now Pesek for Good. Okay. And Pesek for Good is our philanthropic activities and things that we do in the community. We have three main ones. The first one is we participate in the South Omaha Business Improvement District by helping organize our neighbors to beautify our streetscape on South 24th Street.
Looks beautiful. I always love seeing all the beautiful flowers and the vibrant colors. Yes, so beautiful.
So South 24th Street is actually the busiest corridor, the busiest business corridor in the state. Did you know that? It has more than 300 businesses just from L to Q Street, which is only a few blocks. And it's very condensed. And so you go to other places in the city, for example, North Omaha, and you see, there's community, there's businesses and things like that. But everything is a little bit more spread out. Right. Here in South Omaha on South 24th Street, it is so concentrated. You open the door to one of those buildings, and then you see that there's 50 businesses inside that building. Yeah. Because everybody has their little plaza, their little stand that, so that's a very common way of practicing business in Latin America. And we, they brought it up here to South 24th Street. So we are very involved with, beautification of the street. We, in a partnership with the city, we organize the cleaning of the street. We're planting flowers. We're going to have a planting day this spring. Every spring we have a planting day where we invite community members to come and plant flowers that are donated by Pesek Law, and then some of them we buy through the money that we get from the Business Improvement District.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of, good karma that we get out of that. And it's a lot of fun because it's something that families can do. So we have families that come and help. And it's so fun to later in the season, you're walking around South 24th Street and, my kids would be like, oh, I planted that.
Yeah.
I planted that flower. I planted that. So it's a lot of fun, a very fun project. So that's one. The second one we have is the legal clinic, free legal clinic. And this is something that we started right off the bat when we wanted to begin our business. We said, okay, what does the community need now? And at that time, 12, 13 years ago, there were a lot of attorneys, bilingual attorneys, that were getting jailed or, fined for fraudulent asylum applications, a lot of predatory practices towards immigrants, where they would be, asking people for money for an application, $4,000, $5,000 for an asylum application that they knew was not going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so there were a lot of those instances with attorneys in South Omaha.
So there's just a lot of mistrust.
Yes, a lot of mistrust. And so what the community needed at that time was access to legal advice that was honest, reliable, and free. Mm-hmm. Especially that first consultation. That was a big barrier for people, that you are going to go to an attorney and they're not going to see you for free. You're going to pay a $200, $250 fee to talk to them to see if you have a case. Mm-hmm. And so what we decided to do then was we were members of the Our Lady of Guadalupe Church parish in South Omaha. And so we approached our priest and we said, can we have a legal clinic here where Ross can come every Monday night and give free consultations to people, give them references, to go to other places where they can find resources, and just give them very basic advice on whether or not they have a case.
Right. Or look at this form and read it for you, explain it to you.
There's so many things from just reading a letter that they get in the mail. Sometimes you get a letter from the IRS and you don't know if that's a legit letter or not.
Absolutely.
Even somebody as an English speaker, right?
Absolutely.
And so when those letters arrive to an immigrant family's door, they're afraid. Mm-hmm. And so they want to talk to an attorney. And before the legal clinic, you would have to go and pay $200 to go talk to somebody to see what this letter was, right? And so now we have the free legal clinic where it's a first come, first serve. So every Monday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., at the parish offices of Our Lady of Guadalupe, my husband and other attorneys are available there to see people and answer their very basic questions and tell them whether or not they have a case. How much should you be paying for this kind of process so that you don't get ripped off, So which attorneys can you go to? Which one should you avoid? That kind of thing. Those are the kind of questions that we have answered. And so we've had that for, this is going to be the 14th year of operations.
Wow.
And it's every Monday night. For the first 10 years, Ross did it on his own every Monday night. And now we have a team of attorneys. There's 5 of them, and they rotate.
Okay.
So now they all have different specialties as well.
Oh.
And so, one Monday would be the immigration attorney who's there. The next Monday is probably my husband, accident and medical malpractice. So we have this team now, and it's a lot better. Ross doesn't have to be there every Monday now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What a gift to the community. And I just think that, like you said, even for somebody who is born in the United States to get a form and not know what it means is scary, but to have that extra layer of, being worried. And
yes.
I just think that is such a way to give back his skills,
yes.
right? And his knowledge and training to the community.
And it gives us right now, what I often say that the free legal clinic is at the heart of everything that we do. And the reason why I say that is because there is nobody else telling you what the immigrant community needs. you are there with them, and they're telling you what they need.
Yeah.
And so it is like taking a pulse of our immigrant community, is where you are actually listening to what they're going through, what they're needing, where they're staying. Like, you just have a very clear vision of what is happening.
Right.
Like right now, with all of the political rhetoric and everything going on with immigrants being vilified and things like that, we know, because we have seen it at the legal clinic, people are afraid. People don't want to go to church. People don't want to go to school. They don't want to send their kids to school. So there's a lot of fear. And we get that directly from the mouths of the people at the legal clinic. So it's something that I am very passionate about, something that we hope to continue forever. And hopefully we get more bilingual attorneys to come and volunteer.
Yeah. For those that are either, immigrants or going through the process, what kind of advice, like emotional advice, can you give, or can you speak to that with the climate and the changes that are being proposed and how that may impact families?
Yeah. So the immigrant community is so resilient. If you hear from them, I mean, I hear comments on, well, if I have to go back, I'll go back and I'll be fine. I'll make it work. People are very, they're kind of like at the whim of life. And when you're an undocumented immigrant, that's the way you live. You don't know that you're going to be here tomorrow. And so your mindset is very different from a regular person. They know that they don't have their future determined, right? They know that they may be gone tomorrow and that they might need, a place for their kids to stay in. So their worries are, I cannot even fathom what their worries are. They're very basic. But at the same time, I'm telling you, their attitude, or a lot of the people that are around me that I hear is, I will make it work. Whether here or in Mexico, if they send me to Mexico, even if I'm not from Mexico, or anywhere, So I think that we just have to lean on our community, lean on each other, lean on those who are trying to help their allies, making sure that we are prepared, legally, for example, for like the kids. Make sure that there's somebody that is going to be able to pick up the kids after school if something happens to me and things like that. But there are a lot of organizations right now getting the word out, preparing people for what could happen. And in the immigrant community, it's a lot of wait and see.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that we also chat about, I know another part of your organization is the True Potential Scholarship, which helps access higher education for DACA students. Can you share a little bit about that work that you guys do?
Sure. So True Potential is the third and final part of the Pesek for Good initiative. And it's definitely my favorite.
Okay.
I say that the legal clinic is at the heart of everything we do.
I heard you say they're all your favorite, I think.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But the True Potential for me means a lot, because the True Potential Scholarship is a scholarship that creates opportunities for immigrants to go to college. And we partnered with community colleges and with state colleges. Why? Because that is my personal experience. That's how Ross and I did it. And we know that any dream can start at a community college level. A lot of people dismiss, and when I was hearing the interview with the Vernetta, she was talking about how a lot of people overlook MCC,
right,
and the value of education, right? I could not agree more with her. Education, I have seen it as a means of opening opportunities, and that's something that you hear all the time. But for my experience, I have experienced that. I know that if it hadn't been for my education, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to help all the people that I help. I wouldn't be able to have the comfortable life that I have right now. And everything started because I valued education from year one, right? And so when I came to the United States, I found my place at Central Community College. And from there, when I met Ross, he was not planning on going to a community college. He went there because he wanted to play basketball. You know, he was chasing the basketball experience. And so we happened to be there, but we both happened to witness what high quality education we got there. Mm-hmm. I felt good about attending the community college there. I didn't feel it overwhelmed. It was good that it was there available for me, because I don't know if I would have felt the same at a bigger place, mm-hmm. right? So the size of the community colleges, the attention that you get from the counselors and the advisors, everybody around you, really sets you up for success if you put in the effort, right? And it's a lot of the things that I tell my students now, the true potential students now. You can achieve any dream. You can be a lawyer like my husband. You can be an accountant like me. You can be a police officer like one of our best friends who also went to community college. Is now a sergeant at the Lincoln Police Department in Lincoln. And so there is no limit to what you want to do, and you can start at a community college. And the reason to start at a community college is so that you don't get yourself in debt.
Right.
So that you have all of those options and opportunities in front of you when the moment is right. And we were able to do that through scholarships. And thanks to the generosity of others, we were able to graduate even from law school with no debt at all. And that, in return, really emboldened us to be able to make those choices of opening our business and having that financial strength where we were building on. We were not trying to fill in a hole of debt. Mm-hmm. We were already building with our bricks in our work. And we were able to prosper that way. So I want to make sure that others have the same opportunities that I did, and I want to kind of guide them through the system, especially immigrant students who do not have the support system that we were talking about earlier, where they're usually, most of them are first graduates in their family, first generation college graduates. Mm-hmm. So they don't have all of this personal capital that a lot of people do here. And I want to be that person for them. I want to be the person that is telling them, you know, I feel like their mom, really.
Yeah.
I have 50 students now this year. And I feel like I have to be like, okay, did you register? Did you talk to your advisor? Are you going to be able to transfer classes? How are classes going? What happened here? Why did you just take in 2 classes instead of 5? You know, all of the things. Like I try to be there for them and to be that voice that they don't have in their near circle. And that has worked out for me pretty good. I get a lot of feedback from students where, you know, just the fact that they reach out and ask questions tells me that they are interested and that there is nobody else around them that is giving them this information.
And they can rely on you. Like they know they call you and you're going to answer.
Yes.
And if you don't know the answer, you're going to help them find it.
That's right. And so a lot of the students that we help, like you said, they're DACA students, undocumented students that don't have any other source of help. You know, they cannot apply for FAFSA. They cannot apply for a lot of scholarships that require a social security number. But my philosophy and my husband's philosophy is we need to help whoever is in front of us. Mm-hmm. We cannot be planning on helping, you know, solving hunger in Africa if my neighbor is hungry. We focus a lot on who is around us, who is striving for a better future, and how can we help? Mm-hmm. And so we identify those students. We make a fundraiser. We do a fundraiser every summer when we invite our community to help and chip in. And that's where I met you at one of the first events that we had. And you've been coming to every event since then, and I really appreciate it.
We love coming, and we love hearing the stories of the students. I think that's the most impactful part, is hearing their successes and their wins, and how that support has helped them on their path.
And it's important for them to see that, for me, the event is important not only to fundraise the money, but it's important for my students to see that they have a community that supports them, a community that enables them. And they might be hearing all of this political rhetoric on the side, but in reality, there are people here who want you, who recognize your dreams, who validate your dreams, and who's helping you get there.
Yes.
And so it's a really, for me, it feels like an easy mission to sell, because it's like, okay, are you going to help your neighbor? And because helping your neighbor, you know, selfishly, at the end, it comes back to you. It raises the quality of life of your entire community. And so why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we invest in all those people that are around us wanting to prosper?
Absolutely. I love that. If people are interested in learning more about True Potential Scholarship, is there a website? Or,
yes. Yeah. So they can follow us on Facebook, and then we're also on LinkedIn, but also just the website www.truepotentialscholarship.org.
Perfect. I also want to make sure, and we chat about just raising bilingual kids.
Oh, yeah.
And how you are also instilling in them, like, the importance of giving back to the community.
Oh, for sure, for sure. As I said before, I feel like I've always valued the real things. And that, for me, it means quality time with your loved ones, quality time with the people around you. And so when we start, our own business, and you may, you know this too, your kids are around. They don't have school. They have to be there. Yeah. And so they start hearing, they see you working. They see you getting into these personas of like, oh, now I'm a therapist and I'm going to have a client that are going to come in. So they're naturally curious. And so what we do is just try and nurture that curiosity and invite them to see what we're doing, to be involved. Sometimes I read scholarship applications with my kids, and we discuss them, and we talk about where they come from and what their life is, because they submit an essay, right? So it's like a glimpse to their life, and we talk about, do you think this person deserves a scholarship? Yeah, we'll definitely give them a scholarship, And so we try to get them involved as much as we can, but we started from nurturing their own curiosity that came just out of them, right? So we were never shutting down, like, you cannot talk or you cannot be around when I have a meeting. If you can be quiet, you can sit over here on the side of the screen. You don't have to be on screen.
Yeah.
And you can hear everything I say. Sometimes they do. You'll be surprised at how insightful they are. They just, they learn a lot. And those conversations translate to themselves wanting to be involved. So they've always, since they've been little, they've been participating in Planting Day on South 24th Street. We walk around the neighborhood, and they know that they planted that one. They know that we put mulch on that planter. They know that one needs to be weeded. And for me, that's it. That's the sweet spot.
I love that. And are all three of your kids, are they fully bilingual? Yes. And is that something that was obviously important to you guys?
Very intentional.
And what tips do you have for me?
Lean on that public school. Here in Omaha, we're so fortunate to have the dual language program at the Omaha public schools, and that has been pivotal for us. I mean, we sent the kids to Liberty Elementary downtown, where there's a bilingual education from the get-go, from preschool, from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade. And the dual language program at OPS takes them through elementary, middle school, and high school, all with dual language programming, which means that in elementary school, it looks different at each level. But in elementary school, this means that half of the day they have it in Spanish, and then half of the day they have it in English. But it's not the same material. They're always just going ahead with the material. They're not repeating material. So they're actually learning all of these words and reading and writing in Spanish, which a lot of people become bilingual when they're older, but they don't learn how to read and write in the other language. When you are enrolled in a dual language program at OPS, you're bilingual and your literacy is also in Spanish. So that was very important to us. We sent them to a school where they could, we actually live just a block away from an OPS school that is not dual language, but we didn't send them there. We were very intentional on sending them to that school that was going to be bilingual. So we did that. They received an excellent education. And now I have 2 in middle school. Then they continue to be enrolled in the dual language program. In middle school, it does changes a little bit. They have blocks And their schedule, they only have one block that is bilingual. But it's a lot of reading at that stage, reading and reading comprehension. And that is helping a lot as well, just with their vocabulary. And then after that, they're supposed to go to high school and also continue, but they're going to be reading, How to Kill a Mockingbird, but in Spanish. Just more of that advanced language skills. We were also intentional on taking that one trip to Mexico that I tell you that we take to the beach once a week. That is a town that we go to, that we went to our honeymoon. And we've been intentional of coming back every year. When the kids were younger, we actually enrolled them in school when we were there. Because we would go for a little bit longer, like a month or so. So we would enroll them in school. And we did that for about 3 years. And so by the time that, we would come back from Mexico after a month, their Spanish was just so much better. Then they would come home and they would lose it a little bit, but then the next year we'll do it again. And very intentional about that. And we also, with their media, access to TV, cartoons and things like that. When they were little, especially, not as much anymore because they don't let me anymore. But then when they were little, everything was, you're going to watch TV, it's going to be Spanish. 100%. Everything's Spanish all the time. And I tell them, and I talk to them about it, and the importance of being bilingual. We tell them you want to be able to communicate with abuelita and abuelito. You want to be able to talk to your family. So it is important for you to be bilingual. We talk about how a bilingual person earns more money than a person that is not bilingual, because you're able to do all of the things in 2 languages. And so it's a constant conversation, and it can be burdensome. It can be, annoying, a little frustrating, but we just keep at it. And, we're fortunate enough that they're bilingual right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Are there any other cultural traditions that you make sure and prioritize in your little family?
Yeah.
Things that you grew up with, or traditions?
Yes. So for sure, things like Three Kings Day. It's in January. I think it's January 6th or something. I don't know what's the name of the holiday in English, but there's this tradition where the 3 wise men come and see baby Jesus and all that. So there's this Mexican tradition where you have a cake that is in the shape of a circle, and then you cut a piece of cake, and you find out if there's a little baby hidden on the cake. And if you get the baby that is hidden on the cake, then you have to bring tamales in February 2nd.
Okay.
You have to bring some tamales. So all of those traditions that I did when I was growing, I tried to keep with them as well. And we also bring them to the office. Yes. The office is a bilingual office, so everybody is from Mexico, from Guatemala, from El Salvador. So we share all of those traditions around, and my kids are at the office all the time.
Yeah.
So they see that we put this emphasis on our culture. And I talk to them about, I tell them, call me mama, don't call me mom. I'm not your mom, I'm your mama, and things like that. I really try to just instill in them to the pride of being your Mexican roots. And also talk to them about how we love this country, how this country has given us so much, and how I came here to get a better life, and I got it, And so it's a fine line, because you don't want them to feel outsiders. You don't want them to feel like they're different than their classmates or other people. But you do want them to find that sense of pride.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of conversation, a lot of talking with them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Well, Karen, I really want to thank you for joining us today on Omaha Mom Talks. I love connecting with you, and I know that your story and your efforts that you continue to bring to the Omaha community are super impactful, and we're grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Jessie. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Omaha Mom Talks. Real moms, authentic conversations, no filter needed.